Welcome to the Mina Kimes Show featuring the Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny, the only NFL podcast where one of the hosts placed an alarming amount of bets on the Puppy Bowl. That's Lenny. I'm Mina Kimes, and just kidding, he doesn't get paid. Before we get started today with the actual podcast, I just wanted to say a quick thanks to a lot of people. Like I guess everybody here, I live in Los Angeles. I've lived here for about 8 years, and the last few weeks have been super surreal and scary. And while the fires are mostly contained and the news cycle has kind of moved on, the loss that a lot of people in our lives and people we don't know has experienced has been devastating. So I wanted to start here by saying your ticket sales, your contributions tonight to come here, along with contributions from our partners at Good Karma Brands, Roadwork Events, the Rams, have contributed to a total fundraise, this is crazy, of $100,000. What? And we got to that figure in large part because of the matching contributions of my incredible partners, the people who produce my podcast, Omaha Productions. Really quick, I can't describe to you guys how surreal it is to just be like driving on the 101 and you get a text that says Peyton Manning, and you open the text and it's like, Mina. I should not do his voice. The second I started doing the voice, I regretted doing the voice. Okay, you guys know what Peyton Manning sounds like. Anyways, letting you know that he's helping, and like that's just freaking crazy. So yeah, that's unbelievable. Thank you to them. Thank you also to all of the first responders who are here tonight, guests of the show. Yeah, come on. Let's get some applause. Y'all, just watching you guys, your courage, your capability has been unbelievably inspirational in a moment where I think a lot of us don't feel inspired by a lot of things. So there's just no words for the gratitude that we all have for you guys. So yeah, we're all here to support this cause. This podcast is sort of like going to be 3 mini podcasts, 3 segments. I'm doing a couple crossover pods with my friends who are podcasters, and also Kobie Turner from the Rams, who I'm very excited to hear from. But I'm going to start with a couple of my friends who also cover the NFL. They have a podcast called NFL Daily. It's Gregg Rosenthal and Jourdan Rodrigue. Come on out. Oh, snap. We got a Greg chant?
Keep that going, please. The whole time.
Yeah. All right. So, by the way, for those who don't know, NFL Daily, incredible podcast. Gregg Rosenthal works at the NFL Network. Jourdan Rodrigue covers the Rams for The Athletic. So we're going to talk a little bit of football ahead of the Super Bowl for this segment, of course, obviously. We were planning on starting off by talking about the actual Super Bowl, and I promise we will talk about that. But some NFL news broke today that I haven't had a chance to talk about it with anybody, so I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts. It's not Rams related, although we will get to that. I promise we will. We're going to start with what I thought was a bombshell, which was the news that Myles Garrett, I don't know why I kept pointing, is asked to be traded. And this was shocking. The NBA thought they had taken over the news cycle, but then Roger Goodell called the script writers and said, no, we want this back. It's our week. So the best defensive player in football, arguably, wants out. So I guess, Greg, let's start with you. What was your reaction? Myles himself, for those who missed it, posted a letter kind of explaining his desire to be traded to a contender. Mm-hmm. He took a little bit of a shot at the Browns GM, who had said something about how Myles Garrett was going to go from Cleveland to Canton. Then in his little letter, he said his goal is not to go to Canton, it's to win a Super Bowl, which I was kind of pointed. Like, anyways, what was your reaction to that?
I was excited. I just think about content only, so I have long been annoyed that the NFL kind of owns the trade space. Like our team in the Super Bowl, the Eagles, have done their job to increase the trades. And I love this one because I feel like it's a trade request that actually makes sense to happen can and should happen. At first, I thought the Browns aren't going to do this. The Browns don't have anything other than the one guy that they keep on their roster forever as they don't win. And then he eventually does go to Canton like Joe Thomas. But in this case, I think it's the perfect time in Myles Garrett's career. I think there's absolutely going to be teams that will give up multiple first-round picks. I would at least like a first plus, and I think you could just look at who has the most cap space and who could actually win a Super Bowl, and it's not that hard to figure out. I would throw the Lions in there. I would throw the Chargers in there. I would throw the 49ers in there. And then the Bills make a lot of sense to me, but they have some financial issues.
Yeah, they're going to shake down all their couch cushions, like we said earlier, Greg. But I don't want this to spin after this is done, because I do believe this will get done. Because
you think so?
I think this will get done.
Wow.
I think that Myles Garrett, obviously, rightfully so, wants to go win, wants to go get a ring somewhere, wants to go to a contender. So that narrows the pool of teams who are actually viable in this. Everybody should want this guy, right? But this narrows the teams that would actually get him. But I don't want this to spin when it's all said and done, because let's not forget, the Browns created the mess that they're in right now, right? And just the fact that they're going to probably recoup all of their losses that they've taken over the last couple of years after making the Deshaun Watson trade, it's going to look like, oh, look they regained all their capital and got rid of like an aging asset right before he was too old to play. No, that is not going to be the narrative that we all collectively are agreeing to not do. Let's all agree right now. We're not doing that. This is malpractice that they've wasted one of the best players in the league as long as they have.
What struck me about this is the reaction of Browns. Do we have any Browns fans here? Okay. One. Sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
It's hard out there.
I want better for you.
My reaction, and perhaps the one gentleman in the back can corroborate this, is every Browns fan was like, yeah, I get it, bud. Which never happens, by the way, when an NFL player wants out or an NBA player wants out, right? Like, you usually have outrage and how dare he, and we gave him the best years of our lives. But I found that a lot of Browns fans were like, yeah, we get it. Because Jourdan, as you correctly said, this is a disaster of their own making. The fact that his contract is actually kind of hard to trade is a disaster.
Classic Browns, am I right?
Making.
You know.
Yeah, it's going to cost them extra money to trade away. I saw the look on your face. You're doubting that this trade will actually happen.
I don't know if it will. I think it probably will, because usually in the NFL, when a player wants out, it does end up happening. But it's not a slam dunk. I know you're saying like the Browns will get certainly at least one, maybe multiple first-round picks, but they're going to take a big cap hit. It's not that great of an outcome for them.
But they have no chance to win the Super Bowl this year. And I think what you'll see is their GM.
Jeez.
I mean, that's just obvious. Their GM, Andrew Berry, will say, we're not trading him.
Yeah.
Our plan is to keep him. We're not trading him. It's never going to happen until the moment that it does happen, because it's pretty rare that a guy who's been in the league 7 years. I was trying to think of a comparable trade. Like Richard Seymour, after 8 years, got a first-round pick. Jared Allen, after 4 or 5 years, got a first and a third and plus. But these are not Myles Garrett.
Khalil Mack.
And Khalil Mack, 4 years in, got a ton of picks. But Garrett's like 8 years in. But he's a Defensive Player of the Year. He has not gone down so far. Oh, that's amazing.
We have.
There are two ways this happens, though, right? As if the Browns get back a quarterback in whatever this trade is, or if Myles Garrett outlasts Andrew Berry.
Yeah.
Those are the two
Entirely
ways.
possible.
If he stays, it's because he's probably outlasting Andrew Berry. If he does stay.
For the audio audience, whoever's running our visuals has gone rogue and Photoshop Myles Garrett into the Lakers. I mean, just to wrap this.
I was
up,
like, I thought I just made a funny joke or something. And no.
Okay, if you're here, you're an NFL fan, I imagine. If not, that's weird. Raise your hand if you would like your team to have Myles Garrett.
There we go.
All right,
Yeah.
we got about a 97% hit rate. So it is going to be an open season. I think the bigger question is his desire to win a Super Bowl. How much does that narrow the parameters of an acquiring team? The Bills, the Lions, the Commanders. Crazy. We're going to talk about the Commanders in a
Good
second.
vibes over there right now.
Unbelievable. This is obviously a developing situation, so we'll see how that goes.
Commanders is a fun one. They have almost the most cap space in the league. Like, they have the rookie on the quarterback. But I think because there will be multiple teams, that's what drives up the price.
No doubt. All right. It is the Super Bowl week. So I thought I'm gonna do my usual Super Bowl preview show in New Orleans with Ben Solak on Wednesday. But I thought this would be a good moment to just kind of look at the two teams and sort of just discuss how they got here and why. So let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs. Mm-hmm. How and why did the Kansas City Chiefs get to the Super Bowl?
I could hear like a collective exhale from the crowd just now. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean,
I get it. Are you guys okay? Yeah, I get it.
Not America's most popular team these days, I've gathered from being is that how we think?
I see a Bills fan in the third row who just shouted the word refs.
Yeah, well, okay. Why don't we seriously, how is this happening? We got the refs image. Okay, so the answers are obvious: Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, right? But I was wondering if there's anything specific to this season that you guys think maybe explains why the Chiefs are yet again in this position.
A lot of times, Greg and I have a lot of fun talking about this because you have this really complicated ecosystem, and you have to learn how to be like a long-haul trucker at this point. You're not just in postseason contention. You're in Super Bowl contention year after year, and the burnout that infuses throughout your entire locker room and the strain of it. You have to get really used to like living in that real dark place that's also functional. And I think that Andy Reid is a master at that, not just schematically, but he also has the quarterback, and he also has an actual other head coach running the entire defensive structure and ecosystem as well. So all of these things, when put together in one building, and that functionality and that use to like living in the dark like that, I think that really lends to these guys know how to get there and they know how to strain. And every single edge that you do see working in their favor is in part because they've understood how to win in the margins, to not just get lucky, which they have a little bit, but also to create their own luck because they know how to do it at this point with that group.
I think we are in such a bubble as podcasters, and I see this with NBA podcasts too, which I listen to, not to make it all about us, but I like to make it all about us. And we want the regular season to matter so much. We want week 8 to matter. We want the film you're watching of like the week 5 game to matter, or even week 13. And it's just a warm-up to the tournament that does matter for a team like this. And this team's totally different than they were during the regular season. They're way faster. With Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy now just totally unlocked, like they're a much faster team. They're a way healthier team. Like their 4-man pass rush is so much better with Amenahu out there. Like their offensive line is completely different, and they haven't been lucky in the playoffs. They've been the better team easily in both of those games, and they've been the Chiefs we kind of expected to see all along the last 3 or 4 weeks of the regular season too. So it's annoying, but I don't think it's not that they're trying. They are trying in the regular season, but they also know this is the part of the year that matters.
They're trying, but in a different way from the rest of the NFL, right? Because they are trying. They want to win games, but they're also, and this is something we've seen now for a few years with the Chiefs, they use the regular season almost as a laboratory.
Yes.
You saw that last year with Rashee Rice. The thing that really comes to mind is the way over the course of the season his usage evolved, and you've seen that again with Xavier Worthy. It was their first-round draft pick, super fast guy at the beginning of the year. I remember in the very first game, he runs like a go route, and he has 4.2 speed or whatever, and everyone's like, how did the Chiefs get away with getting the next Tyreek Hill again? And then he doesn't really become a big part of the offense, and he sort of disappears. But in the second half of the season, they realize, actually, instead of just sending him on clear outs, let's use him on quick outs and shallows, and he's going to be our weapon against man coverage. And, he's the leading target getter in the AFC Championship. Oops, we did it again. And it's because of all of those games and how they treat them year after year.
He's kind of awesome. I think it's a little bit under the radar that Xavier Worthy is already like one of the best 25 receivers in the league based on the last month.
But it's such a good example of what it is that the Chiefs are so good at and why the Chiefs are here again, right? Is they set things up so well. You see it in everything that Andy Reid does structurally and everything Steve Spagnuolo does on defense as well. They call these setup games where they understand they're probably better than the opponent, and so they set up the infrastructure of certain things that are going to either show up on tape 3 weeks down the line for another opponent or test the space of a certain defensive structure or a certain coverage in order to then use that 6 weeks later against somebody totally different who happens to come from the same coaching tree. And they are so brilliant at setting up these like long-term views of things. That's why I compare them to like long-haul truckers or one-time ultra-marathoners, because they understand how to get to that next level of doing the thing in week 4 that's actually going to make your offense and defense sing in week 16. And you're going to be like, well, where the hell did these guys come from? Were they still on the roster? Yeah, Andy Reid just had them in his little pocket. You know?
It's cool to hate him though too. Like that's
respect.
Totally
it's fine. Yeah,
we could put up the rest image again. You know, I don't think I've ever heard a comparison to long haul truckers on an NFL podcast.
I'm so sorry.
The idea of them being so deliberate and planned. Let's go on to the Eagles, because I think it seems like we got a little bit more Eagles fandom in the crowd here tonight. So why the Eagles are here? I'll start here. We talked about how the Chiefs kind of use the regular season as a laboratory. With the Eagles, I think of, rather than who they were at the beginning of the season till now, I think more about them versus the team last year that collapsed in the end of the season in the playoffs. And really the defense, because the offense is kind of the same for the most part. But the defense was awful at the end of last season. And now they're the best defense in football by just about every metric. And so when we talk about why are the Eagles here, why are they back in the Super Bowl, it starts with the defense, it starts with the coaching change, bringing in Vic Fangio, and it starts with the talent that they've added on that side of the ball. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah, and it starts with Zach freaking Bond. And
Greg's guy.
I'm looking at my Saints fan buddy Adam there in the front, and he kind of unlocks what Vic Fangio wants to do in terms of how he uses them as an off-ball linebacker and as a defensive lineman. But it is crazy to think about the talent that they've added. 2 of the Defensive Rookie of the Year finalists in the secondary. You get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back. They're just better across the board with Bond at linebacker. And then Jalen Carter's just better. Milton Williams is going to make $15 to $20 million next year. Like, he's better than he was a year ago. So you add all that up with the coaching, and they are the best defense in the league.
Vic Fangio's system usually takes some time to fully emerge or like manifest in its fullest like maniacal form, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have tried to replicate it, and Vic Fangio spent a year sort of in hiding and then coached in Miami, didn't really want to be there, then came back and was like, Vic Fangio 3.0, here we go. Mm-hmm. And then he actually onboarded with some rookies.
Yeah.
He onboarded this defense, and it became like this living thing so much faster than it normally does. Normally it takes year 2 of the same group of players for them to even, because they study tendencies so in depth, they pattern match, they do these things that are so meticulous and based on like worming into the mind of the people across from them. And that takes a while to actually buy into, and then also to like have the confidence to execute and be like, yeah, I might be kind of a villain in the league now. Great. And I think it's happening so much faster. Like the Eagles' sprint rebuild happened so much faster than people expected too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really fascinating combination of veterans, guys who are on the team, rookies, free agents like Zach Bond, that all came together. I mean, I guess if I had to sum up the Eagles generally, it's talent. It feels like the Chiefs have obviously the quarterback and the coach and the scheme, but the Eagles, top to bottom, are, and this includes the offense as well. We haven't even mentioned A.J. Brown, for example. They're more talented than
this
the
running
Chiefs.
back.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's this guy Saquon Barkley, right? Which is just kind of what makes this such a fascinating Super Bowl. It's this clash between scheme and talent. And it's
beautiful.
I'll tell you guys right now, I haven't decided who I'm going to pick because I do think it's really close.
I'm picking the Eagles.
Just
because I want to play to the crowd, and I'm very
subscribe to NFL Daily.
But I really believe so. Also, you got to give some props to assistant coach and motivator Brandon Graham, ever since he sort of called out
Who might play?
A.J. Brown, who might play in the game, Brandon
Wow.
Graham. That's amazing. Ever since he called out A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts' relationship, and then a day later was like, oh, no, I misunderstood the situation. It's like, did you? I think you're a guy who is like the leader of the entire team and would not do something by accident at all. I think you would think actually a lot about what you're doing and the impact that it would have, because you know how Philadelphia works. And now they're all happy, AJ and Jalen. They're like doing the Cabbage Patch.
That was Brandon Graham's own podcast, right? That he
I think it was his radio show.
His radio show. Okay, well, who says podcasts can't change the course of NFL history? Okay, let's move on. I do want to talk about some other teams quickly. I wanted to talk about the Washington Commanders for a second because, it's. I specifically, first of all, the Commanders have had a magical season, and there might be my favorite story in football. And it's not because they have this magnetic, fearless rookie or wonderful vets like Bobby Wagner, who's pictured here. It's because it all happened after Dan Snyder had to sell the team.
Yay!
It's just so rarely in this world that the right thing happens like that, It just, let's take our wins when we get them, because it just never seems to happen this way. But the Commanders will definitely be in this position again next year. There's a reason why it's crazy. Let me repeat this sentence. Myles Garrett wanted to be traded to a contender, and we all went, the Commanders. Like, that sentence, if you had said that to me last year, I would have said, you're insane. So the question I actually wanted to pose to you guys is not about the Commanders. Who might be the team that we're having this conversation about next year? The team that comes out of nowhere and makes
the Chargers will always let you down.
I'm putting pressure on you to name a team. Oh, wow.
Oh.
Really? Okay, so what we have, by the way, on the screen behind me is a power rankings I did before the season where I had the Commanders at 31. So that is something I was very wrong about, obviously. So who might I be? Honestly, the other side of it, most teams around him look pretty good, though. Okay, so who's the team that you guys think might make the jump?
I really hate to say this, but I kind of think the Jets and maybe even the Giants are in bad circumstances.
Neither of those teams have quarterbacks. Or
it's January. I need to save this content for like May.
Mine's worse. Mine's worse. That's okay.
Okay, the infrastructure in terms of the organizations, a lot to be desired there. But the actual rosters, like the Jets have talent. If they wanted to keep Aaron Rodgers in a Ben Johnson-like system, actually, he's probably better than the other quarterbacks out there. And when the Giants were making the case that the cupboard's not bare on offense, their offensive line sneaky played well
better,
this year. They
improved.
have Malik Neighbors. They have a good young tight end. They have a pretty good young running back. And they have a great defensive line. Like, I could see it if you brought in the right person. I also wanted to, say the Patriots, but I just didn't want to seem like a homer.
He's a fan. You're a fan of the Patriots.
I mean, they have the quarterback. They have the quarterback and the coaching upgrade.
One of my answers was the Patriots, so go ahead.
Could be sneaky good vibes over there now. I actually was going to say the Raiders because
the Raiders.
I know it's worse. I know it's worse than anything he said, and I made such a scene over it. I think I told you guys this earlier. Like, I don't think the Raiders are going to go quietly through this offseason. I think that they're going to make moves. Pete Carroll, good vibes, is only there on a 3-year deal, and I think he wants to try to go win now. You have Chip Kelly in the building. Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly, like, who put that Mad Lib together, by the way? You have a great defensive coordinator in Patrick Graham, who is quietly one of the best DCs in the league, despite, regardless of what he has to work with or whatever, what he's dealing with from the organization. And they have a young tight end who they're going to run their entire offense through. They have a couple of pieces on the offensive line. And I think they're going to maybe try to go out and get a quarterback. And I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback. I think they might go out and get a quarterback who can play now.
That's a tease.
And if that is the case, if that is the case, then I do think that they're a much quieter, better vibes team. And part of it was because they cleaned house. I mean, other than the owner, who kind of is who he is at this point, right? But they cleaned house. They cleaned
Chip
house.
Kelly $6 million.
Yeah, that shocked me. I think your point about the Raiders, if they had the quarterback, they would be the team. All of these teams, the Jets, the Giants, the Raiders, if you dropped a Jourdan Daniels type figure into...
Maybe like a Drake May.
Well, okay, so that was going to be my pick, the Pats and Drake May, because I genuinely think he played really well last year, and I think that the staff they put in place, even if does have a bit of a retread feel, is going to get some market improvements out of him. But both sides of the ball, I think, are going to be a lot better. So I think that's
all-pro cornerback in the third year. I got quarterback whisperer Nate Tice to say on NFL Daily he would still draft Drake May over Jourdan Daniels.
We also played a game.
I agree.
We also played a drinking game on NFL Daily. We had a third person in the chair on NFL Daily every Tuesday, but we played a drinking game, take a shot every time Greg says Drake May this year, and that person died. So we don't speak about Timmy that much, but
Wow. I mean, you guys probably have a lot of crossover listeners with Bill Simmons, so I have to imagine America hates Drake May at this point because he gets so much podcast love. Deservedly, though. All right, I was going to ask us to say the things we were most wrong about, but nobody wants to hear that. So let's keep going. I already basically did it with the Commanders. You saw those rankings, and then the Broncos were the other. Yeah, the Commanders and the Broncos were the two teams that I was the most
everyone was wrong about the Commanders, at least. Show me someone that was right about that.
Yeah, I don't know. But I do want to wrap. We have Jourdan here who does a fantastic job covering the Rams for The Athletic. I think we've got some Rams fans in the house today, so I do want to talk about the Rams briefly. I want to talk about this guy. Before we get to this guy...
some news today,
Some
folks.
news broke today, yeah. So
I may have accidentally driven over a curb as it happened, but fine. Everyone's fine.
The news was about a player who's been instrumental part of the Rams for years now, Super Bowl champion, Triple Crown winner. Cooper Kupp might be on the move. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about that piece of news and kind of where things go from here for the Rams.
Yeah, it was more of a statement of recognition, I think, publicly by Cooper, right? Because since the middle of the season he's sort of known, and it's been discussed, his future, his long-term future. Part of it is the back half of his contract, the extension he signed after the 2022 season, and then the injury history and the decline in production. Now, you can't take away the legacy that he will be leaving with this team. I mean, we all remember the one time Sean McVay calls a 4th and short go, and it's a sweep. And the only reason it works after it failed in practice 6 times that week in the Super Bowl was because Cooper Kupp cut his run inside. And it was brilliant, right? We saw this for years, since 2017. But the production did not necessarily match the rest of the contract. And I think you could see over time, this team and this offensive system is now funneling through Puka Nacua. And, this happens with the Sean McVay offense every couple of years. There's a new player through which all roads lead. Puka Nacua is that player. So Cooper was aware that his future might be in question or was in question with the Rams. We talked about it after locker cleanout, where he wants to play football, but he wasn't certain of where. So this sort of just put another public button on a situation that's been unfolding over the last several months.
Greg, I do want to ask you about the Rams because this was a season where it felt like they were kind of playing with house money at the end, right? Team starts 1-4, turn things around, people get healthy, players get healthy. They end up not only making it to the playoffs, but winning a playoff game and then going down to that last final drive against the Eagles, a drive that reminded the world that when Matthew Stafford is on, he is up there with every quarterback in the NFL. Matthew Stafford's future is also, we don't know at this point what's next for him. I guess my question for you is, if he's back with the Rams, do you see them as a contender, once again, like a true contender? And if he's not, where do you think they go from here? Because we talked about teams where the Rams are so ahead of schedule with their young players, one of whom we're going to see tonight. What do you think lies next for them?
Yes, they would definitely be a contender with Stafford because they were a contender the last 2 years, and these young players are going to get better. If you shook up like that tournament last season and this season, I think the Rams make the Super Bowl a couple times out of 10 last year. And if Jalen Carter was not the best defensive tackle to enter the league in the last 5 years, like the Eagles had done everything in that game to blow a game that they should have won. As it was happening, it was like a slow motion car crash. And I thought the Rams were going to win that game at the end, which is why I can't quite understand the pretty strong vibes from the Rams publicly. I don't know anything privately, but publicly that they're just maybe not that into bringing Stafford back and going to see what they could get.
I think it's something you say when you don't want to pay someone. I think they are very into bringing him back. But if that's what you say,
NFL,
those are the things that you do when you don't want to pay someone.
That's the cost of doing business.
Like, and that's really what it is. It's money, because we all see, I call him darkly chaotic Matthew Stafford, because that dude emerges and it is frightening, right? And it sucks the wind out of an open air stadium in sideways snow, right? That's what happened a couple of weeks ago. And it's remarkable, and they don't want to lose that guy. Obviously, who would? They know ball, right? But they don't want to lose that guy. But the other thing about the Rams is they have 1 foot of this team build and this rebuild that happened so much faster because they nailed these 2 draft classes. They have 1 foot in this new and defining era of what this team is. And now, with Cooper Kupp leaving at this point, and with potentially Rob Havenstein entering his last year on his contract, Tyler Higbee might be gone. Like this is now a team that is balancing what era it wants to be in, and it's straddling both. And so they don't have a viable backup plan. I mean,
Jimmy G.
Pretty privilege is not a thing.
I've got a McVay theory, which is that in only the ways that he coaches and thinks about ball, he always was the successor to John Gruden. Like, he is little John Gruden. He even says that. And John Gruden,
watch it.
That's why I said go, talking about ball. John, he likes to replace his player. Like you just said, it's the Cooper Kupp thing. Like, I feel like he gets a little antsy and thinks it's all about his team, maybe. And
I don't know. I think watching Matthew Stafford come in and say, no, I'm just going to sit and empty and dissect defenses, maybe change the way he thinks about that. I do think, though, Jourdan, you make a great point. The Rams have done what very few teams in the NFL do, which is compete and retool at the same time. Teams always say they're going to do that. It never happens. And, maybe we'll get a chance to talk about it a little bit later with one of those young Rams. But for now...
Oh, yeah, he'll love
guys,
that.
Thank you so much for joining us. Can we get a round of applause for Greg and Jourdan? Andy Greenwald, Chris Ryan. I heard you guys listening to us talk about the Eagles. Come on out. You can sit. No, I was actually going to just see how you naturally landed in seating. If you were going to... No, I wanted to see if you sat next to each other, if you chose to sit in 2 separate seats.
No, we're a united front tonight.
Okay. For those who don't know, I feel like I should probably introduce...
Why not? Yeah.
Chris Ryan, Andy Greenwald, co-hosts of the Watch podcast. We got some listeners. We are going to talk a little bit of TV movies, which I never do on my show, so that'll be a little bit different. But we do have to nod to the team that you both root for.
Yes.
First, the Philadelphia...
You said that in the most Quaker education way. You were like, yes.
My light within is burning.
Yeah.
I was reflecting, the last time the Eagles were in the Super Bowl in 2022. I made that, the game.
Actually, by the way.
That is how I look at Chris. Beak or no beak.
So I actually watched that Super Bowl with you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
that's
right. Us.
So I forgot about that because I was rewatching it ahead of this game, thinking about, matchups and how the teams have evolved. And I had a very distinct memory of watching James Bradbury hold and not wanting to admit it was holding because I was scared of both of you. And I was very quiet in that moment, but my brain was thinking, he definitely held, oh no.
Did you think I was very chill that day? Like 1 to 10? I was cool, right?
I was
pretty cool. Yeah. Was my body like normal? Like, was it calm?
I had never seen that side of you.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a good
It's a deal breaker,
I see
some
it
people
constantly,
say.
So, yes.
Sports, though, because you guys talk about movies and TVs with great passion and opinion, but sports, you were unhinged.
Yes, that's
You
fair.
were a little unhinged.
That's clinically accurate.
Yeah.
That's what my doctors say.
Well, he had like a period where he had dropped out of sports for a little
Because
while.
it's too, I'm a terrible sports fan. We've talked about this in the podcast, but I'm not good at it. Like, I have no chill. I've never smiled that much ever in relation to sports. But oh, look, we're the exciting whites.
Wow, look at that.
Aw.
Wait, who got to be DeJean? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I like that for you.
But look how happy I am for getting the pick, and my arms look great.
Shout out to the Photoshoppers for choosing racially accurate players
Yeah,
to
I appreciate
Photoshop you
that.
guys
No.
onto.
It
We're all
wasn't
great.
like a non-negotiable. Like, it would have been fine.
It would have been like that one. What if Michael Vick was? Do you remember the famous
Yeah, I do.
ESPN the magazine cover? Look it up. Chris, let's just go back to that day. What were your emotions like in that moment, in that game, in that loss?
Was I there for that?
Yes. What, you
Wasn't
mean like
that
in your
Wasn't
body?
that when I had
Or-
COVID and I was like in the Burbank Marriott for that Super Bowl?
No, you were in the COVID. You missed the playoff run. You were cleared. You cleared protocols
No, man. I think I was living in the Burbank Marriott with
for
COVID.
the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because I remember eating a burger and being like, "That's not a good burger," in the hotel room, and just
No.
It was room service, and I was like, "This is at once like blackened coal, but like totally raw inside." And then I was like, "Oh, we lost."
Who was I hugging?
I don't know, but it was like Chris Stapleton saying
maybe
the
it was Zach
national anthem.
Barron. We were probably confused. I'm probably confused.
It was-
Chris with Zach.
Zach gives a very strong high five that I'm still recovering from in moments of triumph. And then
Yeah, I think it was Zach. Now, so for those who are
you
unfamiliar
really
with
sick?
the
Yeah.
Ringer podcast universe, Amanda Dobbins is Zach. Her husband is a
another
longtime
Eagles
super
fan.
fan.
Yeah.
and we have our most unhinged Eagles group chat, which is
You
the
guys
three
have
of
a
us.
separate group chat?
Just we have a 3-person Eagles group chat. The name of it is War Daddies,
Yeah.
which is what I believe Jason Kelsey said about Cam Jurgens last season, where he's
Okay.
like, he's going to be great.
You call
he's
yourselves
he's a
War
war
Daddies?
dad.
No, it's just the name of the chat. We don't
What's the name
refer
of
to
the
each
chat?
other as that. Yeah.
I have. It has, again.
I don't remember which one of you texted me when Solak, who's not here tonight, started doing my show regularly, coming off of an Eagles show. How dare you? One of you did was a bit of a free agent pickup by
It was,
the Mina
yeah.
Kimes Show featuring Lenny. No big deal. Okay, so that was a tough loss. I do want to ask before we get into the movies and TVs of it all. What's your level of optimism headed into this rematch? Because that was a devastating loss. Jalen Hurts
was.
played the best game of his career in the biggest moment in the Super Bowl, and you lost.
Say
How
it
do
one
you-
more. Say it one more time.
How are you feeling? Like, are you feeling dread? Are you hedging it emotionally?
I feel like I'm in a really good place. I love the defense so much. I think it's kind of like Chiefs don't really have blowouts typically, so it's probably going to be close. And what happens in New Orleans, it gets upside down sometimes. You have a couple hurricanes. You know, I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of a coin toss game, and
Yeah.
in that case, like I kind of like our chances. I don't know. I feel safe though. I
You
feel
like
good.
your chances against the Kansas City Chiefs in a
They
coin
have to
toss
lose
game?
sometime, right? I mean, like that's what they were saying about the Patriots, and the Eagles beat them.
It's true. That happened.
That did happen.
It was a while ago. But
He
it happened.
tackled me. It happened.
What about you?
I'm in a zag. I feel great.
You feel great.
I feel great. I mean, what is it? Monday? I feel great.
Wow.
I feel really good because it's been a journey for me internally and with my poor friends. Because my dream football game was like the one where Brock Purdy's arm stopped working, and then we could just eat chips for the rest of the game. I loved that game. That was awesome.
When they literally ran out of quarterbacks.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
perfect. Then we win, everyone's smiling, and that's what I like
So
best.
you like blowouts, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
So,
as opposed to an
that
exciting
said-
game. All right. Yeah.
That said, I've spent this whole season being like, but why can't they just make it easy ever? And now I've realized that they don't do that. They just have
I
better.
hate this. Okay.
They have better
so
players.
if you're a fan of a team that's not good,
Yeah.
like me, really,
Yeah.
when fans of good teams are like, oh, our team, it makes it
Make
so
sure you're
hard.
direct. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I didn't
No,
say
wait.
that.
Dude,
Wait.
all the time. Oh,
I had more.
Oh, we barely
I had more.
won. And you're in the Super Bowl.
I know. It's amazing.
This drives me crazy.
I don't take it for granted. Like this, we were sitting
wish
together.
we won by
We were
4.
sitting together for every NFC Championship loss 20 years ago. Those didn't feel great.
It was so hard losing
But-
in the championship. Okay, I'll stop. I know, I'm being...
Mina, did you like cheer for the Seahawks though? It's not like.
But
we haven't been in the playoffs.
my only point was that they the way they win is they just kind of dink around for a while and then they're better
well,
and they win at the end.
Factually true. The first quarters are often wasted.
And then ultimately
That's because Jalen's just getting his whole view of the chessboard.
Yes.
Man. You know.
we do have differing opinions about our quarterback.
I'm going to guess. I actually don't know them. I'm guessing you're more positive than Chris. Yeah, I guess.
I think of Jalen Hurts like Santa Claus. As long as he delivers presents, I believe in him. You know. And if for some reason he doesn't come through, like we'll start talking about Tanner McKee or whatever. But no, I like Jalen. I don't think that he's a great passer. But
Wow.
do you?
I think that he is very good at specific things. I think he throws a beautiful go ball. I think he's accurate
We should
throwing
just try
deep.
some of those then.
I think maybe 1 or 2 would be good.
I think he will. And I think he also, I said he played his best game of his career in the Super Bowl. He played his best game of the season last week. So if I'm an Eagles fan, yeah, I'm a little nervous that the first 2 playoff games weren't great, but it's probably a good thing that your quarterback just played the best game of his entire season, headed into the most important game of the season. So
I feel very good about it. I mean, also, the Ravens were supposed to be the best team, and we beat them in the regular season. Sorry. The Ravens, I'm just saying, like, we've come up against these so-called unbeatable juggernauts before this season.
Like I said, you're the most, I don't know if you guys heard that, you're the more talented
We heard,
team.
yeah.
Yeah, you heard, okay. All right.
We also heard a lot of stuff about the Giants and the Commanders.
Yeah.
We were like, you guys are way too balanced, journalistic.
Okay, speaking of journalism, I guess this isn't really journalism. We're going to do something that has never been done in the history of sports podcasts. We're going to draft stuff. This is the first time that's ever happened. Oh, Chris, you're pulling out research?
I'm pulling out the list that you said. Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to draft football TV shows and movies. I'm going to keep track. I got an easel. Thank you, Owen.
Mina, can I just ask, do you enjoy watching football TV and movies? Or do you feel like that's like working during your off time?
So the thing about football TV and movies is the football is always really bad. That's what makes it hard. I will say, as I look at some of these TV shows and movies, some of them I do enjoy because they're the really good ones, and it's going to be competitive because this is a very top-heavy list, in my opinion. Once you get past the first round, it's really, you're looking for, Cooper DeJean.
That would be Blue Mountain State.
Yeah. I do enjoy watching some of them in the off season, but a lot of them are not particularly realistic. Okay, I actually didn't set a draft order.
Okay.
So I am going to...
Let's let him go first because it would mean the most to him.
Because what?
It would mean the most to you.
It would.
Okay, all right. Andy, so you can go first. We've got a ton of movies and shows. If you're listening, you can probably imagine what they are.
Chris,
I just have this easel to keep track. So
do you not enjoy watching Nobody Wants This because it's about podcasting?
Exactly.
You just watch it and you're like, that's not... I mean,
It's a bus man's holiday.
to be fair, they did do their podcast late at night in their kitchen.
I know, I wish.
That was inaccurate.
So you
Okay.
have the first pick.
Okay, so I have the first pick, and it's TV. It's TV also, right? Because I am skewed.
We got, the audio audience, we've got shows like Ballers, The League. We have Friday Nights, the movie and the show.
Right.
The Waterboy, The Longest Yard.
I just went all in on Little Giants, and I was like, no. If I have the number one
pick for a first round.
if I have the number one pick, I'm picking Friday Night Lights, the TV show.
Yeah. Obvious.
It's
That's
obvious.
the Joe Burrow of this draft.
It's
no
easy,
question.
small hands, but you got to trust it. My reasoning are it's one of the greatest shows of all time. It stands up incredibly well. It gets better as it went on over many seasons.
Whoa. That's a bold take.
No, it did. The last 2 seasons were amazing.
You think the Vince Howard seasons were better than the Matt Saracen seasons?
Well,
You just casually said that, and I mean,
that the show kept getting better. what is the consensus on seasons 4 and 5? Like
They're
he's
good,
still in?
but better than season 1?
Ultimately, as seasons, season 1 had better highs, but season 1 also had 24 episodes leading to a murder plot with Landry. So
That's true.
I'm just saying, like, the focus helps. I did also want to say...
We don't talk about that.
I have been recently working in London, England, and they know nothing about American football, despite at least the people I've met with who are mostly playwrights, so maybe that's a bad sample size. But what they do know is Friday Night Lights, the TV show. And I do feel like that has done a better job exporting the beautiful game around the world than the Eagles playing on a bad field in Brazil, for example. Everybody knows Riggins, so I'm very happy with my...
And now they're rebooting it.
They're yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that and I just kind of, my mind rejected the information.
Yeah.
There's no universe in which that works out, right?
No, and it was like they were asking Taylor Kitsch on the American Primeval promo
Riggins.
tour, like, what do you think of this? And like, will you come
Yeah.
back? And what's up with Riggins? He's like, Riggins is an alcoholic. He's on his like third wife. And I was just like, dude, no, I don't want Riggins to be a part of
I
it.
believe that.
Yeah, I want to believe that you're just
No.
incredibly happy, man.
The actor who played Saracen, Zach Gilford, was randomly in a book club with someone I know, which is the most LA sentence I think I've ever said. But apparently he's lovely and very much like his character in real life. So, yeah. All right, Chris, you're up. Number 2. FNL, the TV show, is off the board.
Just to mix it up a little bit, it's probably 50-50 for me between the movie Friday Night Lights, but I'll go with Any Given Sunday. What a riveting portrait of an NFL franchise, top to bottom. Features one of the great sports monologues of all time with Al Pacino's halftime speech.
Would you like to give us some of that? Or?
And then, so I think I'll go with Any Given Sunday. Do you think that this movie is still an accurate portrayal of behind-the-scenes NFL action?
100%. Actually, the Pacino monologue is the one that gets cited a lot, but there's a different sort of monologue that Jamie Foxx gives about race and quarterbacking when he's at Al Pacino's house.
Yeah.
That to this day remains like the best commentary I have ever seen on being a black quarterback.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's so well written. It's like stood the test of time. And yeah, Any Given Sunday, I think, is probably the best football movie of all time. So,
Aaron Eckhart plays the offensive coordinator in this movie. And he has like these stories about how like he would just be walking around on set on days off, not dressed as an offensive coordinator, and Oliver Stone would just be like, start talking, start coaching, and he'd start filming him. Like, so a lot of this movie came together in a very chaotic, spontaneous way, but it still works.
that's a good pick. All right. I'm going to pick this one because I just watched it randomly. I'm going Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had you seen it before?
Rewatched it, sorry. I rewatched it. I had
rewatched
seen it before, yeah. So it's obviously, they don't really make like that sort of mid-level drama anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
No, they don't.
that sort of genre movie. Tom Cruise is amazing in it,
Yeah.
first of all. All the actors are really good in it. Like Renee, I mean, they're all captivating, but it's also really realistic. I guess whenever I mention football movies or shows, people always ask me, is it, you just asked me that, so I guess. But it is very realistic. I think every agent I've ever met goes into being an agent because he wants to be Jerry Maguire. And it's really beautiful because there are stories like that happen in the NFL all the time.
Isn't that a sliding doors moment for Jay Moore? Because he was in that movie.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
like was in 3 more sports things, and then he's like dating
Right.
Jeannie Buss.
Married to her.
He's married to her now.
Yeah.
So like,
I think
was he just like, I love being in this world so much.
I'm going to marry Jeannie Buss.
This is just my life.
Yeah.
Like he just carved out a lane for himself.
People, I feel like every day someone discovers that about him by reading Jeannie Buss's Wikipedia page that she dated Jay Moore. Okay, we've circled back around. We're back at Andy.
Okay, I've got a wild card pick that I was thinking about. I don't see it represented there, but I did feel, again, it was important.
You're going off the board.
I'm going off board.
Wow.
I'm going off board.
Okay.
I felt like I had to do TV again, 'cause that's mostly what I cover.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to choose Playmakers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, do people here remember
No, a lot
the
of
show
probably
Playmakers?
People might not be familiar with
So
Playmakers.
I have some factoids here that I wanted to share because it's a lot of
boy.
fun. But so back in 2002, 2003, ESPN was like, how can we diversify? How can we get the
Yeah.
E back into our name, entertainment? And for those who don't know.
This is before the Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny.
And so they commissioned a scripted series called Playmakers that was going to show the real life of the NFL. And even if you had seen the show, you probably don't remember how it begins.
Oh, no.
It begins with a player on the home team of the show, the Cougars. Their location is never named, although I can tell you it's in Canada. Is visiting in the hospital a player on another team whom he has just paralyzed in a game.
Sorry, it's not funny. I just didn't expect him to say that.
A thing that would definitely
There's a lot of that, though, in the show. He brings him, as a gesture of goodwill and apology, 2 DVDs. Can you guess them?
Jerry Maguire.
Good guess. No, The Matrix and Ronin with Robert De Niro.
That's cool.
And he then explains nothing about The Matrix, but he's like, there's a great De Niro car chase in this one. The paralyzed player says nothing. The 4th line of dialogue in the show after the DVD list is, and I don't know what your rules are with this podcast, but he says, I can't feel my That's before the opening credits.
Wow.
At the 8:24 mark of the pilot, I'm not doing the whole show, I promise. The coach of the team admits he's been blood for a week.
Wow.
It's an interesting theme because the second episode of the series...
Did you just grind tape the entire day?
All day.
Yeah.
2 things happened today. Mina sent me a list of 50 viable choices.
then
Second thing, ignored all of them. Watch Playmakers on YouTube. The second episode of Playmakers is called The Man.
No.
And in order to avoid...
Did David Milch write this show? What is
wish.
going on?
In order to avoid the drug test of the aforementioned man, the drug-addicted running back injects clean urine into his own bladder with a syringe, which doesn't seem like it feels great.
Yeah, that happens on the pit this week, actually.
Anyway, the takeaway quote is, this league is like life. When you're a playmaker, the rules don't apply. And
Ooh, chills.
then Paul Tagliabue made a quick call to John Skipper, and the show was never heard from again. But it is kind of amazing. And I would if you think Any Given Sunday is accurate, I wonder if this... Because people did credit the show. It got good reviews, and people were like,
Really?
oh, finally, we're telling the truth here. Do we think this was the truth?
I mean, I wouldn't know. I mean, I wasn't really a Paul Tagliabue era
Yeah.
ball knower, but I mean, I obviously followed the game, but I don't know. If,
This was a moment in time when the NFL was pretty conscious, I believe, about it's maybe more so than now. I actually never seen Playmakers. It's constantly brought up to me.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I feel like I've hooked you. Do you want me to keep going?
is it
I have
available?
timestamps.
Is it on Disney Plus?
Is it on Disney Plus?
No.
Sir, it is not. It is not available.
That's going to be my next simulcast.
Yeah.
We went from Toy Story to The Simpsons to a Playmakers themed Monday Night Football game coming to you. Okay, Chris, on to you.
I want my picks back, so I am going to do draft day.
No! No!
I really want them to make a draft day just about Nico Harrison at the Mavericks.
Brutal.
And watch him calling Pelinka to offer them Luka. No, this is actually like taking apart how ridiculous it is. It's a really good Costner performance. It's a really entertaining premise for a movie because it's just so compressed across this like 2-hour stretch of like one day of this guy's life where he has to go all in to rebuild the Browns, right?
Browns, yeah.
And
Vontae Mack, no matter what.
yeah, I mean, gosh, I mean, what can you say about a masterpiece like this?
Well, I can tell you it's the closest I've ever come to being kicked out of a movie theater was
because you
at
were
a
screaming
showing
at the
of...
screen?
Because when they showed the Seahawks, who were the evil team that got fleeced, I tried to start a chant in the theater. And there was another Seahawks fan, so I went, see? And the guy went, Hawks? And everybody went, get the hell out.
What city were you in when this happened?
New York City.
Okay.
There were also 10 people in the theater.
It's a cult classic. It was not exactly a runaway box office success, but yeah, I thought
I
this
think it
was
stood the
incredible.
test of time. Yeah. My favorite thing is Vontae Mack was played by Chadwick Boseman, right? And every line he has is like the worst written line you've ever heard. It's all like he'll be driving his daughter to gymnastics and he's like talking on the phone to his agent and she was just tumbling, which is something I hope I don't do in the draft. lives rent free in my mind.
Do you know like the big red flag that Kevin Costner has against the quarterback that he's supposed to take?
I know.
He finds out that nobody went to the quarterback's birthday party. And so he's like, he's not a leader because these guys don't want to ride
This
with him.
comes up constantly. Anytime there's a story about an NFL player whose teammates don't like, people bring up Bo Callahan.
Did they bring it up with AJ and Jalen? Like, was that the issue?
Oh, that they weren't going to each other's birthday parties?
I mean, Jalen isn't like the warmest guy, I feel like.
No, I mean, but this is just an amazing moment where he's just like, I looked in his eye and I knew no one likes hanging out with him.
It's actually closer to how drafts actually happen
Sure.
than you guys would like. Okay, I'm gonna zip through mine. I'm gonna go. I see Rudy's still on the board. Classics, The Blind Side, 80 for Brady. I'll put the league here.
Oh no, she stole my pick.
Just because we don't even need to spend a lot of time on it. It's just insane that fantasy football, a thing that nobody enjoys hearing you talk about, made for an amazing television show. It's actually really funny and multiple seasons, and I enjoyed them all.
Yeah, Jason Mantzoukas gives one of the all-time great 21st century
good.
television performances.
Yeah, I think the YouTube reel of Rafi outtakes
Yeah.
One of the
is
best
an all-timer
low-key best television characters
ever.
Right.
I'm very jealous. I had that in my pocket. That
Okay,
was my number 3.
All right, we're on the final round. We got to zip through these. Andy, you are first.
So can I do the league again? Because I was locked in. No, only because I was very excited to pick a show that didn't run afoul of your problem. There's no actual football in the show.
Yeah.
It's just about unhinged fans. Okay, we're zipping through it. Then I got to pick Air Bud Golden Receiver because that.
Can you name a single fact about this movie?
Yeah, the dog catches footballs, Mina. Like what other facts? Oh, and no one went to the dog's birthday party. Obviously.
Do you think that somebody in the room just said Golden Receiver and then the movie came?
Then they greenlit it. Yeah. That's the brilliance of the Air Bud franchise. What were the other ones? Does anyone remember? They were great puns.
Well, basketball's
Air Bud, he's
the main one. Yeah, ain't no rules say a dog can't play basketball.
And no thumbs either. They just.
All right. Wow. Someone had a
7
very specific memory of an Air Bud baseball movie. Okay, Chris, you're up.
I will take the 1986 Michael Ritchie movie Wildcats with Goldie Hawn, Woody Harrelson, and Wesley Snipes.
Also, not even up here.
Not even on the long list. It's okay. It was a seminal movie in my childhood. This movie is so profane and violent. It's about Goldie Hawn plays a track and field coach at a girls' private school, and she decides to become the football coach at like a city public school where Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes go. And it's just basically like chaos and violence and so many great hits in this movie, like in terms of tackles, I mean. Back when, it was like Brian Dawkins kind of level hits, so...
That was like peak Goldie, too.
Yeah.
So I like that pick. Rudy's still there. Remember basically every movie that your substitute teacher played is still on the board.
Yeah.
Remember the Titans. We Are Marshall. I'm going to go in a different direction. My draft sucks, but it's fine. I'm doing Ballers.
Yes. You and Senator Elizabeth Warren.
That is my Roman Empire.
There it is.
Literally think about this.
I think about it all the time.
She likes Ballers?
It couldn't be a pander. It's too
It's
weird.
too specific.
The one thing that she chose to be like, no, I'm normal. I like Ballers on HBO. My husband and I make time every 9:30 on Sunday for Ballers.
This is the
she
first
had my
time
vote.
I heard this quote from her. I was like, that can't be real. This has to be like NBA Centel or something. Not only is it real,
Elizabeth Warren Sendell.
she gave specific reasons why in an interview that she loves Ballers. I think about this constantly.
Me too. I think it's a great choice. One day we'll get to the bottom of it.
Ballers is actually exactly like the NFL. It's so realistic. All of it.
Yeah.
And I obviously dropped off after like season 1.5, but
Did it go for like 6 seasons though?
it went so long.
Yeah.
Or 3, we'll never really. There's no way of knowing.
Okay, so just to wrap things up and summarize, Andy, you have Friday Night Lights, Playmakers, and Air Bud. You went high and then low for us. Chris, you have Any Given Sunday, and then you went Draft day, robbed that from me. And then Wildcats, you both went off the board, which is on brand. And I have the most basic list, Jerry Maguire, The League, and Ballers. I am like your brother-in-law who you don't talk to that much. And
Or you're
are
Elizabeth
his
Warren.
favorites.
Yeah.
And you're like Howie Roseman. You just did it again.
I know.
You did it again. You guys are the best.
Thank you so much for having us.
Excited for your
Thanks
team.
for everybody for
coming
I
out.
hope that you are not disappointed.
Thank you. Don't
And-
if there's blatant holding in the fourth quarter, just
Yeah, don't mention it.
don't mention it.
I won't mention it.
Thank you.
Another round of applause for Chris and Andy. Put your hands together for defensive tackle Kobie Turner. How are you? Give me a hug. Right? Oh my gosh, this is so exciting,
This is cool. Wow.
right? I
Hi,
feel like
guys.
this would be a great place to perform.
Just sing a little something. Let's get it going. Come on.
All right, we'll put a pin in that for now. So I actually wanted to start this by playing a little video of you. It's not a performing video, but we'll play a few videos. Let's put this one up
You
though.
with your feet crossed?
Ooh.
I said like an old man. Who granddaddy you is? Look at this. Then he got his hands the same.
It ain't comfortable.
It is comfortable. I ain't gonna lie.
No, try it. Try it. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so listen, it is comfortable.
It's so comfortable. Look, you're crossed right now. I'm a little cross, you know.
Baby
If
cross.
I have space to breathe and I can, lean back on a bench, oh yeah, I'm crossing the toes, crossing the feet, toes inside the shoes, everything.
What I love about that video is it captures something kind of amazing about the Rams, which is you're kind of the elder statesman now of the defensive line.
It's weird.
It's so weird because this is just your second year in the NFL, and you were amazing as a rookie, and you had an amazing year. But you're surrounded by, let's put some hands together. What is this? 17 sacks over 2 seasons. I got that right? 17. Did I undercount your sacks? 17 over 2 seasons?
17. I think I'm at, if we count postseason, I think I'm at 20 and a half.
Okay.
I think. And then I had 9 and 8. So yes, you're right.
Okay.
17.
Okay. Who's counting?
Who's counting?
But you're surrounded by young.
Not chasing anybody.
And I wanted to start. Let me just take a minute. He led all rookies in sacks his first year. That's crazy. So, and then you repeated this year with another great season. But I did want to talk about that because it felt like watching y'all maybe around the second half of the season, something really clicked. And this was a very young group around you. You had 2 rookies on the defensive line, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk. I was just wondering if there was a moment in the season where you felt like, we're really good. Our format, we are one of those pass rushes that people are afraid of.
Yeah. I think of early in the season, even the Raiders game and the Packers game was just a couple of games where the rush was really getting there, where we really had really good games as a defense. And so those games were just wait till we put it all together, wait till we get fully healthy. And then even thinking of the Seattle game, that was a game I had.
Try not to. I'm a Seahawks fan. Sorry, I don't know.
That was one of probably one of my worst games. I had 3 offsides penalties, and it was insane. That never happens for me. But we still get 9 sacks, and however many picks that we had, and a pick 6. It was just this defense can come together and really be something special.
As a rookie, I mentioned you were the sacks leader, but you also played next to arguably the best defensive player in the history of the
No
sport.
arguments here. No arguments here.
Aaron Donald, who obviously commanded a lot of attention, not just double teams, triple teams at time. Were you, worried about filling that void and maybe that attention shifting more towards you? Because playing next to him obviously was a wonderful experience to have as a rookie.
Yeah, getting the attention means that you have respect from people around the league. So that was something that I was excited to get, and then it's now how do we figure out how I can go win even with some extra attention. But I wasn't really too worried about filling his void. Nobody's ever going to be who he is, and also nobody's ever going to be who I am. But I did have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. You know, there's a lot of people who were saying I was an AD merchant or all
An
of these
AD
things.
merchant.
AD merchant, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Insane. Sorry, as I take this off, I'm over here sweating.
It's a little hot
guys.
up here, yeah.
Just a little bit. But yeah, between that and me just knowing, you know, that there was a lot of attention, a lot of, you know, there's a void leadership-wise that I also had to fill. So it was more of a challenge to me to be able to prove myself and really to prove me to me. And I know what I'm made of, and I know I'm made of the right stuff, and that the work that I put in on a day-to-day basis is going to lead to me being able to reach all of the goals that I want. So,
well, speaking of that work, so AD was famous for his, shall we say, unconventional training methods. We all remember him training with knives. But you also trained with this dude, right? And you actually, I heard, brought him in to train with the rest of the Rams defensive line. What was that like?
yeah.
I know it's crazy. Guys.
Pootie is wild.
What's his name, sorry?
His name is Pootie. Well, his name is Al Carson, but his contact is Al Pootie Carson.
Pootie.
Poodie.
Oh, Pootie, okay.
Pootie. Don't make too much jokes about him. He's crazy, but crazy in all the best ways. That's my guy. He's family. But yeah, he gets you right. I mean, I brought him in, so I went over there to train with him. Actually, it was when I lost Defensive Rookie of the Year last year. That night, right after they announced Will Anderson winning it, I texted AD and I was like, hit me up with your knife guy. Like, it's time to get back to work. Clearly, I haven't shown these people enough.
Hit me up with your knife guy. It's an incredible text to send anyone.
And he hit me, and he sent me Pootie's info back. And so I get on a call with him, and I'm, you know, worried about how it's going to go. And he was super welcoming, so I went up to Pittsburgh to go train with him. We trained at the Pitt facilities a little bit too. And yeah, it was a lot of really good work, a lot of unconventional work as well, but he kind of uses Krav Maga to be able to break down, you know, the arms and to be able to break down the body part to ultimately have success. So bringing him out here then was really, really cool as well, to have everybody be able to experience what I experienced, and to be able to get both the D-line and the O-line some work together, and, you know, to start to form the nucleus of that group that, you know, showed up and showed who we were, you know, in the Vikings game and throughout the entirety of the season.
It's a tough picture of Sam Darnold up there.
Sorry, Sam. Not really. Sorry.
Being sacked by Kobie. 2 sacks in that game, right? If I remember correctly. Is that the one? What would you say is the biggest thing that changed for you, or the way you evolved the most as a pass rusher from year 1 to 2?
Yeah, I think I started to refine my role. Year 1, I had a very specific role. You knew AD was getting the slide. So whenever he's in the 3, I'm in the 2 wide, the center is sliding harder way. Like, he's not going to pay me any attention. So it was crease the A every time. And really, a lot of the times, my goal was to get AD off the slide, pick the center set, get him off the slide, so that now he can have a one-on-one with the backside guard. But ultimately, that was where I had a lot of success. And then to be able to come into this year and not knowing where the slide was, and to now have to dictate where the slide's going to be based off of what we present as a defense, and then being, you know, the interior of a lot of our overload fronts, I did get a lot of double teams and a lot of my sacks.
Yeah.
I had to work through 2 people to even have a chance at getting to the quarterback. But also with my alignment, it's if you win fast, you're a straight shot to the quarterback. So if I win, I'm tackling them, you know? So I grew a lot, and I think just breaking down individuals and really honing in on what my particular role was, and knowing where the offense was going to slide and where their vulnerabilities were.
Is there a quarterback that you enjoyed sacking the most this year?
Sacking Sam Darnold was pretty fun. I'm not going to lie. Man.
Oh, he's so nice.
So the first game we played them, I didn't get back there as much as I would have wanted to, and then a couple of times when I was near him, he just took off running. So I was like, okay, like, I got to get this guy. So getting him, and then Kyler Murray too. That little joker, man. What I mean,
Doesn't it? It's like, I got a 16-month-old. and something about the way he runs.
You can never catch him.
He almost scurries more than he runs. So
that's the thing about Kyler too, is you can't. There's so many times I tried to dive and get him, when he starts scurrying away, but he never has 2 feet off the ground at a time. His strides are so short that you can't dive. We literally said no diving. But being able to tackle him, it's an accomplishment.
In my mind, it sounds like when he runs around back there. Okay, so I want to go back to, so you talked about, your training for this season, and you got 80s knife guy, and you're now the leader of this defensive line. But while you're at OTAs with the Los Angeles Rams, you kind of had a double life this year. Can you tell us about it?
Okay, so I get the call to be on The Masked Singer. I don't remember when, but me and my fiance were
How did that even come about, though? Like, how did they? Because you had performed publicly, or was that?
So I sang the national anthem at the Kings game first, fresh off the season, and then I sang it at the Lakers game. So those were 2 really dope opportunities. And then I have an awesome marketing guy, Clint, with King Sports and Entertainment. Shout out Clint, and and he hit me up. And me and my fiance were just sitting on the couch, and he was like, yo, you want to do Masked Singer? And it was something that like me and, a couple of buddies out here and some of my friends even back home had been talking about for a while was, if you get the opportunity, that would be sick. And so we were like, yeah, of course. And I think the dates that I scheduled was supposed to be when we were, in the off season after OTAs, but apparently they scheduled me to start the last day of mandatory minicamp. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm over here practicing the songs, but you have to live this double life because nobody can know. There was one of my teammates that called on, and I'm just like humming a song in the hot tub, but I sing it like 4 times in a row. I'm practicing. And he's like, why are you, 2000s, R&B nostalgia, I get it. It was Miss Independent. But he was like, you're singing this a whole lot. Like, what's good with you?
The idea of you singing Miss Independent 4 times in the hot tub, and your teammates being like, what is he doing? And learning a little bit about your love of music and how this talent developed. It goes back like all the way to childhood for you, correct?
Way back. So started singing just around the house. My mama will always play reggae on Saturday mornings when it was time to clean. So it was really cool music. I remember waking up to it, but once it finally hit me, I was like, man, we're staying in this Saturday. Like, we're just going to go and clean the entire house. Hated that. But my mom brought me along, with all of the church choir practices. And so growing up, music was always a part of my life. I didn't want to be too much of a music nerd, but moved up to Northern Virginia, and I became like the hugest music nerd, doing like choir, like 3 choirs. My coaches were like, take some extra, weightlifting classes. And I was like, I think I'll take guitar. So it was really cool to be able to have that duality, to be able to do both sides. But there was a lot of give and take. A lot of people who, had their thoughts on how far I could go. And even, just coming into college, even as a walk-on and still wanting to pursue music, like that's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's been a blessing of a journey, no doubt.
Did you feel like when you were in high school before college, the 2 worlds even understood each other? Like, did people... because I'm sure coaches looked at you and thought he could be something, but he has this other passion. Did you feel like there was ever a conflict or a clash?
There was always certain conflicts. There are some times where I would come out to practice late because I was doing madrigals after school, which is like this fancy, like Renaissance, old-timey type of choir. It was awesome.
What?
It was really cool. You dress up in like these old-timey costumes. It's wild. But mine was like black and like white, and it kind of had like a little lion mane and a little purple,
I wish I had a photo so bad right now.
Yeah, I gotta find a photo or something. But there's some conflicts there, but nobody really had too much of an issue because at the end of the day, I backed it up, on the field. In high school, people didn't necessarily think that I would amount to what I have been or think I would necessarily go to college. My oldest brother, or not my oldest brother, my middle brother was a big one, had all of the offers. He was the star running back, so I didn't really get a lot of attention, not because of him, but he was more of the prototypical you know, this guy's going to go to the league or this guy's going to go and play at a big time college. He ended up playing at the University of South Carolina. So he was dope. He's such a good player. But yeah, there's some conflicts, but at the end of the day, if you take care of business and if what you put out on the field is worthy of, you know, continuing to be out there, then who's going to say anything about it?
Well, you mentioned you were a walk-on, so like you're, you know, an underdog story, and we talk about having these different interests and whatnot, but to go from, again, being a walk-on at a small school to rookie sacks leader is in it, setting aside the music, that's a crazy journey. I mean, when you were a walk-on at Richmond, did you ever think NFL?
So I always had that as a dream. You know, I wrote it down first grade and the kids laughed at me. I was like, I want to be an NFL player. Oh my gosh.
I would like to see that.
I never really truly believed like this is something that's meant for me. I always knew that if it was meant for me, then I'm going to put in the work to be able to make sure that I get there. But at the end of the day, if I work, and I'm just not good enough, then it is what it is. So, and then I also had delusions of grandeur. You know, I thought that if you were an All-American, you know, and at the FCS level, that you're going to get a legitimate shot at the league and all of these things. So I had no clue that this is the direction that the journey would have taken me on. But long story short, no.
When did it kind of click that it was actually a possibility for you?
So I think being able to go to Wake Forest and have the season that I had, it wasn't necessarily a great season numerically, but I made a lot of impact plays. And then going into pre-draft training, I thought I was going to be late day 3. Like I didn't think I would get too much of a shot. But the Rams just showed so much love throughout the entire draft process. We had a couple connections with like some of the coaches, with Coach Henderson, Henny.
Oh, Henny, I love
him. That's my guy.
That's the Rams' former D-line coach. Now he's in college. He's the best.
He is. Okay. So had some connections there. So I had a feeling that the Rams were going to come and get me, but it still never hit. Like, I'm not one of those guys that thinks, oh, yeah, I'm just supposed to be here, or like where I look out and I just think that I'm better than or anything like that. It's always work to get to the next level. And so once it finally hit, you know, once I was got that call and, you know, was drafted, I was a little shocked. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. But I knew that if I got taken on day 2, it would only be by the Rams.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I remember watching. They put in, I think my agent told me that they'll call you 2 picks ahead of time. So it's 1 pick before the Rams' last selection. And I'm like, I guess I'm not going. So, you know, just getting ready to call it a night. And then I see a phone call from Thousand Oaks, California. And I'm like, let's do this. Like, it's time. It's time. So.
You mentioned this at Richmond before you transferred. You were still, you said you kind of went even nerdier with music. Mm-hmm. I saw that you studied music theory in college. I imagine that's probably what led to this next video, which is a celebration. Here you are sacking a different quarterback, Brock Purdy.
Love sacking Brock Purdy.
Watch Kobie's celebration here. It's a signature celebration. And the nickname, the Conductor. So tell us about the origin of the nickname. Well, I guess we know the origin, but how it came about in that celebration?
Yeah, so it came about actually at Richmond. We were in the locker room after one of our tougher practices of the week, and so they're just blasting music, everybody's dancing. So I just start just conducted to it. And so one of the captains at the time, he was actually like, yeah, like you should do that as a celebration. So 2019 versus Albany, I get a sack that I thought was a safety, should have been a safety, but screw it. So I get up and I just start like full on band Conductor. It was so bad. But so that was kind of where it started. The next week versus Yale, I got like a TFL, and I actually drew like the Disney logo because I'm also a huge Disney nerd. And so at the end I was like, woo, like this is Disney Channel. But the announcers were like, the Conductor's conducting again. So I was like, it's stuck. Like I just gotta keep going with it. So brought that with me to Wake Forest and then to the league. And my first half sack versus Seattle, I did it the old way, and it just looked really weird. People were like, are you playing the violin? Like, what's going on? McVay's over there showing it in meetings. He's like, what's going on here? Like, explain this. And so Trey Tomlinson, actually, he was like, you got to slow it down. Like, you got to chill. So I got
Okay, you got a little feedback.
right, and so I got I got 2 sacks versus the Cardinals, and so I just slowed it down a little bit, brought in both hands. You know, I had to, you know, prep everybody with the breath. And then, you know, and then you go, you know, all of these things that, yes, I learned from my, you know, picking up my degree in music and learning how to conduct a choir and learning and being able to actually conduct a choir and learning how to arrange music, learning, you know, all of the ins and outs of the music world. And so I kind of decided to just chill, like sit in that moment, be like, you deserve this moment. Obviously, you just made a big play. So just like breathe, prep everybody. And then, you know, let's do it.
That's unbelievable. You have to be the first player in the history of the league to say, I learned how to conduct a choir and then turn that into a sack celebration. You mentioned being a Disney nerd, and obviously you're a music nerd. There's another video I would like to play from this year that you posted on your TikTok. Yeah.
That was so funny. I promise that wasn't supposed to be serious.
Wait, just walk me through the story behind the video that I just played.
Okay. I have so many stories for you guys. I mean, clearly it's story time. So this time we're actually going to New Orleans, and me and my fiance had just watched Wicked. She's playing the Wicked soundtrack all the time in the house, everywhere she goes. But that one part, actually musically, that's my favorite part of any of the songs in the whole Wicked soundtrack. There's just something about, I can't explain it, but it's cool. So anyways, so I'm watching TikToks as we're driving down to LAX to hop on the flights. And there's a TikTok of the choreographer. Oh my gosh, I forgot his name. But he's breaking down how to do the dance. So I'm like, this is kind of fun. Like, maybe I should try it. So as we're getting onto the plane, we're on the plane now. And, you know, you turn on your phone, you're on airplane mode or whatever, but I had already scrolled through some TikToks, so I was able to go back and watch all the ones that I just watched. So I'm watching him teach me how to do the dance, and so I'm in my seat doing do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. And so we get to New Orleans, get to my hotel room, have dinner, have all of the normal nighttime routine, and I'm just sitting up in my hotel room bored. So I'm like, I just want to try this, like, just for fun. So, boom, I try it. I'm sending videos to my fiance. She's at Disneyland.
From the team hotel.
From the team hotel. I'm sending videos to my fiance. She's at Disneyland is the one out here, having fun with some of the other girls. And she's like, post this now. And I'm like, wait, but it's not perfect. Like, did you see the way, like, my feet were there? Or, like, my feet are in there and my feet are ugly. And, you know, I'm sweating bricks, you know. But she's like, post it. So I post it, boom, and it starts blowing up. And I'm like, is this what it's like to be viral? Like, this is cool. And then Wicked leaves a message. The choreographer, like, put me up on his story on, like, TikTok and Instagram. And I was like, what? So I turn off my phone, do not disturb, because I got to go to sleep. We have a game. Wake up the next morning. There's so many people who are commenting, who are saying, like, you got to do this, you know, when you make a sack or when you make a touchdown. So I'm like,
Can you imagine? Sorry.
I know. I was like, okay, I can't do this as a sack dance. I would have to literally make a touchdown to do a touchdown dance or something like that. So that was the idea. I'm walking down to get on the hotel buses, and one of our football affairs people, she's like, oh, yeah, I saw your TikTok from last night. And I'm like, this is very local. Like, why are people seeing this? And also, I wasn't really trying to post it out to get like that. Like, I hope nobody else sees it. And then the lady at the front desk, she's like, oh, yeah, I saw it too. It's pretty cool. I'm like, I don't even know you. But anyways, yeah, so I knew it was viral after that. And I got a strip sack. Fist did this super cool slide cancel to pick up the ball, took it to the crib. So all of the cameras were on him. But if you were able to see me, I ran over to the middle of the end zone, and I started tapping the book. And I'm like, I got to stop this. Let's run back. And nobody got videos. There's like one picture of it that I got on like socially, and it was like me like midair or like me like holding a book, but like fake holding a book, obviously. And I was like, well, at least they saw it kind of, but
so
sorry, everybody on TikTok.
A strip sack or a pick six or something next year. Well, I guess you might be on to a different dance by then. But
we'll see. My fiance has been telling me I have to do the Dancing Through Life one, but I tried that, and it's not for big people. It's not.
Along those lines, Does it ever occur to you, or do you ever hear from particularly kids, football players who watch you and think, maybe I could also try music or the arts, or conversely, kids who are in the arts and look at you and think, man, it's pretty damn cool that an NFL player loves the things that I do?
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things that I do try to share. Hey, Goo. That's one of the biggest things that I do try to share with my platform is that you can do both. And the fact of the matter is, you know, not everybody per se can do both. If you're going to do both, you have to really dedicate yourself to both of those things. Like, there's so many sacrifices that I made throughout high school, throughout college, even now. Like, I didn't have I had a really good group of friends, but I didn't have this huge booming social life because for me, I wanted to pursue football and I wanted to pursue music, and I didn't want to slack in any one of those areas. But I do hope that through my story, people are able to see that you can do both, that there is less of a stigma around music and music education, because really, if it isn't, or if it wasn't for music, if it wasn't for the role of my high school choir director even, and she's going to be the woman who's officiating my wedding actually coming up here soon.
Oh, that's awesome.
If it wasn't for her, thank you. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. You know, like I wouldn't mentally be in the space to be able to do all of the things that I was able to do. She helped to give me the gift of music and to learn how to use that to cope with all of the things that happen in life. And there's a lot of things that we go through. But that was her gift to me, and I hope that that's also my gift to the world, and also to just help everybody see that, like, we're so much more than just athletes. Everybody is so much more than just whatever job that they sign up for, whatever job that they're working, whatever description, whatever label that people put on you. It's so important to me to show that we are so much more, and that you can't just be defined by that. Like, you can't just say, oh, this is Kobie Turner, the football player who's second Sam Darnold, or anything like that. Like, that's a part of who I am, and a very big part.
It's a cool part, to be clear.
But it wouldn't be complete if you didn't also understand this is Kobie Turner as a person. This is who he is, how he treats other people, who he is as a fiance, soon-to-be husband. This is who he is as Goo, you know, all of these things. So,
first of all, that's amazing. I do have to ask, is music something that you would like to pursue, first of all, maybe after, but also in tandem with your NFL career?
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be putting out more music, and it's not even something that I'm trying to pursue all that much. It's just, these are passion projects, and this is what I do. Like, I've started going live on my Instagram and just jamming, and it's not anything differently than what I would be doing. Like, I'm going to be sitting at my piano or playing my guitar regardless, but my fiance always pushes me, and she's like, okay, like, bring other people into your world. So whether it be that, you know, I put out a song, The House of the Rising Sun. It's a cover, obviously, and talking about New Orleans, which I wish I was there. But, you know, another time.
With the Super Bowl. Well, along those lines, we're going to take some questions from the crowd, but before then, would you care perhaps to give us a little taste of your musical stylings and talents?
Yeah.
For a good cause.
Yeah, so I'll do a little bit of this one, and then I also will have another cover, Praying, that should be coming out either this Friday or a Friday coming up soon thereafter, and then we'll see kind of where it goes originals-wise. But yeah, I'll do a little bit of House of the Rising Sun. Let me get a little bit of water.
Yeah. Woo! Come on.
There is a house in New Orleans, and they call the rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy, and God, I know I'm one. My mother was a tailor, and she sewed my new blue jeans. And my father was a gambling man way down in New Orleans. Dun, dun, dun. And there is a house in New Orleans, and they call the rising sun. And it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And God, I know I'm one.
Get on your feet. Come on. Come on. Get some claps. That was oh my
thanks.
God. Holy Woo! Hey, Kobie Turner, everybody. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. She was the best. So as I mentioned, we're going to take some questions from the audience. I was going to bring out Chris, Sandy, Jourdan, and Greg, if you guys are around, you don't mind. I don't know where. Are you over here? Okay, come on back out. Okay, so we got some questions from the audience. This is very exciting. We will start here. Brian W. asks, on December 26, 2019, this is great, this is my audience, Mina tweeted, quote, future Cowboys head coach Brian Schottenheimer, quote, Mina, 1, did you know? 2, is there a world where this is a good hire? I guess my answer probably addresses both of those questions, which is I tweeted it as a joke to make fun of a Cowboys fan.
Do you remember this tweet?
I do, because I was I think after the Wild, or maybe it was around the time the Seahawks played them, and it was very painful or something, and he was the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks at the time, and I was taunting a Cowboys fan by saying that he would be their head coach, and it's 2025, and it happened. This one, I'm going to actually, because 2 people are involved in this, so we can't answer it, so I'm going to direct it to everyone, to Chris, Jourdan, and Andy. In a game of basketball, who would win, Greg or Mina?
Hang on, Greg, could you stand up for a second?
we're about the same.
There's not a really right answer here. I'm sitting right next to Greg. Yeah, are we playing is this like playing to 11? So like.
The questioner wasn't specific about the terms of the game.
How would you describe your game?
My game, I mean, I'm all effort,
Yeah.
no skill.
Okay.
Gritty.
I give
Marcus
it
Smart type.
edge to Mina. if
I
she's
mean, Mina's
Marcus Smart.
name is on the sign. I
Yeah.
think it's Mina.
All right, this one everyone gets to field. If you could choose one starting quarterback right now who hasn't won a Super Bowl, who would it be? I'll go first.
Choose him for choose
to
for
do
what?
Like to hang out with?
To go to his
quarterback.
birthday party.
Like you're starting a team and he's your guy, basically. I'm just spitballing here. This is an interesting test for Andy after his.
Jalen Hurts.
You're actually going to go with Jalen Hurts?
Oh my God, dude. Seriously?
Yes.
Over Josh
The Super
Allen,
Bowl is,
Joe Burrow,
what,
and
6
Lamar
days?
Jackson.
It's definitely Joe Burrow.
No.
My answer is Lamar Jackson. You guys, what would you say?
That was my answer too, but who I would like to, then I'll throw in Josh Allen.
I'm picking Jaden Daniels because I think
wow.
it's 15 years, 15 more years.
Okay.
Chris, you got to get on board.
What's your favorite thing about Lenny? This one's for Chris.
He's so chill. That's what I really like. Is this a really relaxed dog? No, I like
Not
it.
actually, I was joking.
Oh, okay.
It's for me. It's from Ivan. My favorite thing about Lenny, other than the fact that he works for free and doesn't talk on the podcast, he's never asked for royalties, which is like amazing. He actually is a really good older brother.
Oh.
Yeah. Tolerates
When you took him off the show after like 3 or 4 years.
in front of Matt Hasselbeck. It's a little piece of lore because my dignity left my body. Okay.
Was Lenny more of like a takesman or like a tape watcher, like ball knower kind of guy?
He is a takesman. He is
Okay.
loud, opinionated. He would fit right in on first take. What is the biggest Commanders need in the draft? We don't have to say who that player is. Jourdan, why don't you go first on this one?
I mean, pick a defensive position other than inside linebacker, where Frankie Louvu's holding it down. I would really love to see the identity continue with that defense. I think they need some dudes everywhere.
I also like their defense. I just want to stand up for what their defense did recently.
Are we fighting now?
No. I'm just. You guys are too
nice
nice
to
about.
meet you,
You guys are
also.
too nice about other teams.
This is everybody can answer. Take a crack at this one. Who will win a Super Bowl first? The Chargers or the Bengals? Hashtag bolt up, Lauren. Wow, we found a Chargers fan. Yeah. This is actually a really good question. Not actually, I don't want to say actually, but it is a difficult question. Because I guess I meant actually because your brain goes to Joe Burrow and the Bengals, but then when you take a step back, Chargers are a better football team, top to bottom.
I think the Chargers.
Chargers.
I think in like 5 years after the Chargers win the Super Bowl at some point over the next 5 years, we're going to hear some story of some human sacrifice that Jim Harbaugh made to an unknown deity, and he was like real fired up about it the whole time, and you got this, as somebody is being sacrificed, and that gives them their powers.
You guys don't want my opinion on this. The Eagles. I'm happy to be here, honestly.
I'll go Bengals. It's just hard for me to imagine a world where Joe Burrow doesn't win a Super Bowl at some point, but I don't know. And Jamar Chase, I do think they're going to manage to keep him, so I'll go with Bengals. All right. What is the craziest subreddit that someone has tried to recommend? Well, we all know the best subreddit, CR Heads.
Yes.
Do we have any CR Heads in the crowd? So, actually, the only good subreddit.
I agree.
Can you put that as a tagline? How do you feel about the fact that he has one and you don't, but you're equal partners on
It's
the...
so great. It's like sometimes I get just the halo effect. Because Chris seems to think I'm okay, then I generally am okay on that subreddit. Sean Fantasy thinks he's sort of okay too, and I think he's a little less okay than I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
I posted there recently.
Did you really?
Yeah, because I did an AMA and somebody was like, CR Heads. And I was like, yeah. And then I clicked over, and they had a post about this show. Again, shout out to everyone's here. And I put in a little eyes emoji, and nobody noticed it.
Oh, man.
It's the only nice place on the internet.
It is really the only
It's great.
positive subreddit that exists on the internet.
I
so
appreciate the community.
Shout out to that. I like the way you talk about them, like a little frightened.
Because if
but
I look at it too much, I disassociate. So it's like I have to like be like, that's cool. Now I can't look at it.
What is something, this is his other question. What is something about I don't know if it's a him, I'm just assuming. What is something about the NFL that you're surprised other professional sports leagues have struggled to replicate or haven't tried to adapt?
Having the regular season matter.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Tough for the NBA. The hard
No,
gap
it's
is...
like sincerely though, it's like
Yeah.
you would have a hard time adjusting a lot of like baseball or basketball seasons because of historical records and financial implications, but there's nothing like football every Sunday where you're like, okay, everything's changed now.
I think that's right. I think it's probably the best possible answer. What do you guys think?
I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah, that's a hard question.
That's a great question. Also, don't take our jobs, please. Yeah.
I feel like the NFL is more willing to change their rules all the time. Like their entire league is a process of always changing it all the time.
Some crazy special teams coach puts on a suit and marches into league meetings in Orlando somewhere, you're getting a rule change, guys. He just has to want it bad enough. Like,
I like this question from Ryan from SD. Another Chargers? Do we have every Chargers fan in Los Angeles in the crowd? This is unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Okay, so he's born and raised Chargers fan, broke my heart when they left, no longer has a rooting interest. Okay, this is a good... If you found yourself a free agent,
Oh, yeah.
what criteria would you use to choose a team?
Money.
No. A free agent fan, not a free agent player. Like what would you be?
Still money. Yeah,
Also
still
money.
money.
No, lovable loser.
Lovable.
someone
You would
who,
go
like-
for the lovable loser.
So
Yeah.
who would that be?
Bills. I'd go Bills.
They're like really good though.
They just made it. To
Well,
the
okay,
championship.
small market.
Okay.
Has never won the big game.
Yeah.
I feel like you're underselling the psychological damage of this team, right? And this fan base. They jump through tables. I couldn't do it, but I respect it.
All right. Jourdan?
No, that
You could.
free agency has some advantages.
Listen,
right? Like,
I want more for you,
respectfully.
but you could not pay me to be a Browns fan right now. No. Someone buy that man a drink. Also, yeah, I really like personalities. I think what the league is doing better at right now and is telling better stories throughout the roster. So if that's why I love the Eagles. They're so messy. I love them. Something is always going on with the Eagles, right? And it's either like wildly dramatic with their head coach cursing at his own fans,
It was just feedback.
it's just constructive feedback, or it's like personalities clashing, and it somehow all works. And I love that you get such a range of experience and personalities, and it all somehow functions really well. Like, that's a team I'm drawn to.
I completely misunderstood the question before. I apologize. My son chose the Texans, and I actually think because of C.J. Stroud, and I think that was a perfect spot. Great fan base. You're getting in early on a good player. Like, they're good enough, but you're not getting onto like a great team, but they're also not the Browns. So I like that choice for him.
drive by.
I would probably go Cowboys.
Come on.
I really like Landman. I think it's pretty fun to have the sun in your eyes most of the time when you're watching football, and I would like to know what life is like as a demon, you know? Like,
if I could do it all over, because I am, resigned to Seahawks fandom, I shout out to my fellow Seahawks fans. I wouldn't be a fan of any team because fandom is hell, and it is so hard, and caring is pain, and 90% of the time, 90%, what's 31 divided by 32? It ends in failure. I am so jealous of my colleagues at ESPN who do not care. I cannot tell you what my life would have been like if, when the Seahawks lost to the Patriots, I had to go into work next day and give analysis about the team. I would have been like, I would have had to analyze the Malcolm Butler interception. Instead, I just cried in my apartment in Brooklyn. But
how was your day that day, Greg?
It was pretty great.
We don't need to talk about that. Listen, I just wanted to say thanks again to you guys for coming and doing this podcast with me.
thanks for putting this together.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Mina.
Thanks everybody for coming.
See you guys.
Thanks everybody for coming.
Seriously, first of all, Kobie Turner also, holy smokes, that was
Awesome.
crazy. Thanks again to our partners, sponsors, to the incredible folks at Omaha Productions and ESPN for putting this together. But again, especially to you guys, because I know it's not a small thing to ask people to come out on a Monday night, and it is unbelievable. And seeing your faces is a reminder that the people on the internet who tell me they hate me are outnumbered by the people in real life who are cool. No, I'm just kidding. If you're watching this or listening to this and you weren't able to come, you can donate at redcross.org/ESPN. We've raised a ton of money to help folks here in Los Angeles. And if you want to hang out, I'm going to hang out here and we can take pictures in front of a giant picture of Lenny, because if it was the actual Lenny, I don't know how that would go. Otherwise, that's it for now, and I'll be back later this week with Ben Solak to preview the Super Bowl.
Go Birds.